So we talk about the Korean wave, which is introducing Korean culture to the rest of the world. You might think of K-pop, K-drama, maybe even K-cuisine, K-beauty. But one thing we should maybe look forward to as well is K-comedy, and maybe one of the pioneers in spreading that talent throughout the world, Korean comedy. We have a special guest here in the studio right now for Touch Base in Seoul, Kim Sung-won, who became famous in Korea with his comedic talents, but also his very, very impressive English abilities as well, joining us here in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. My name is Fernando.
Fernando.
Yes.
Well, I guess that leads us to our first question then, because Fernando would imply that you spent some time in Latin America. I understand you grew up in Mexico, and then you eventually came here to become a comedian. So can you maybe walk us through that journey of when you grew up and then eventually came back to Korea and then choosing your career?
Oh, yes. Well, I lived in Mexico for 11 years. And then after graduating high school, I had to make a choice between if I'm going to keep studying and get my citizenship or come back to Korea and serve for the military.
Right.
And I chose to come back to Korea because I love so much about Korean drama and acting and movies, comedy movies. And that I think that's why I came here back to Korea, studying acting in Seoul Institute of the Arts. And I came here in KBS comedy gay concert.
Did you know that comedy was going to be the path, or did you think first entertainment, acting, and it sort of was the sort of road that you took?
I don't know. I loved comedy. I loved my favorite comedy actor is Jim Carrey. I wanted to follow his path. So I thought, I don't know, gay concert might help me from the basics. So.
I see. Well, thinking of a guy like Jim Carrey and the comedians in the U.S., and I'm sure you had comedians that were popular in Mexico as well. I think from the foreigner perspective is Korean comedy, what you mentioned, gag concert and some of these other more concert style of Korean comedy performances, and in the U.S. where it's more stand-up, or maybe they might have like skit-based like Saturday Night Live, which also has a version here. Did you notice that there were kind of big differences, and how did you adjust with like your love of American comedy and Korean comedy?
American and Korean comedy is kind of different. GC gay concert is a live show,
right?
But we do the recording, and after that they can edit some part
and it's different from Saturday Night Live, right? Because it's not necessarily skits.
Right.
It's a bit more sort of like concepts and a little bit of improv and a lot of that, right?
Yes, we call that conte, which is in French.
Yeah,
is a play that which includes satire or humor. Yeah. We do the play, a little play. The comedy play. We do that in gay concert, and never seen like standing shows or comedy in here in Korea. So I want to try that too.
Yeah, I maybe we can talk about that later as far as what you think could be the evolution of comedy here in Korea. Obviously, you're speaking to us and to our global audience in English, and so I think most people can understand that you are the comedian who speaks English, that you are known for that as well. I know you're one of your senior comedians, Kim Young-chul, is also kind of has been known to be good in English. Is that something that is... I know you're going to be diplomatic, obviously, but is that something that's a good thing, or is it a burden, or do you think sometimes, they just only think of me as the English-speaking comedian, and that kind of maybe makes it a narrow kind of road, or do you think that it's actually more of a blessing?
It's a blessing, yes, because I really thank my parents for giving me a chance to to experience like all kind of different experience in Mexico, or I spent some time in America too, right. So I could use that in my comedy, my gag skit. Like it's been like 10 years now doing my job here. like 10 out of 9 is all used basically
Yeah.
in English. So
Wow.
yeah.
I know this might be a difficult question. It's not really been pre-prepared, but if people follow the Korean entertainment industry, and there's been news reports of it in the past, where the how do you say it in English? The gag industry or the comedian sort of industry here, it has a very strong 선후배, like senior junior culture, and sometimes there is sort of like a very strict way of being. And as someone who came from overseas and someone who speaks a lot of English, was there an adjustment, or were you well received by your seniors and generally got along well?
I guess both.
Yeah.
Yes. If we didn't have like 선후배 thing,
Right.
I could, like make some trouble.
Right. I see.
Just because
So
I
in
came
a way,
from
you feel like it kind of
overseas.
it puts you on a right path.
Yes.
Of, like the way it's done here,
Yeah.
and kind of sets you say. Whereas if it was more of a, I guess we can say a freer environment, like in the West, you feel like you could have gone in.
Oh, I
different
really
directions.
changed the environment like freely because I'm kind of right now in the top rank.
Right. Top rank. Let's talk about what you're also quite well known for. It's one of your sort of big projects. You've been taking part in the Busan International Comedy Festival. It's been a few years since you've been involved in that. Can you tell us about that festival and what it strives to do?
Well, it's International Comedy Festival. It's been already 6 years now. It's one of the it's one of the biggest comedy festival in the whole world, and a lot of performers from the other country come to Korea in Busan, performing their talent, their comedy shows, and I was involved there. Like first 3 years, they let me do the MC for 3 years, but after that I got fired. I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, like same picture, I guess, but well, I don't know. Like 3 years now, we've been doing a show called EDO Show. It's a show that we, how do we say this? Get involved with the audience. We do the comedy with the audience, and it's been kind of a popular show. So every year we go to Busan doing the EDO show.
Right.
Yes.
Do you feel that when you interact with the Korean audience, obviously you get a reaction, and there is certainly expectations of how a concert should go and how certain performances should go. But when you interact with international audiences, or if maybe international comedians interact with Korean audiences, do you think that comedy could be considered universal, where there are certain things that everybody finds funny, or are there certain ththings that are culturally, it's funny in Korea, but maybe not so funny in Brazil or something like that?
Yes, we could say that. How do you say that? Like mumbling, not using any words or only your gestures and
Right.
sounds that could
Non-verbal
be
type
non-verbal.
of-
I'm sorry, yeah, non-verbal comedy show. Could be like a global show, but it will. I think it will take some time.
Yeah.
Still take some time to make like a comedy that everyone can
Right.
share.
That's why I noticed, because you have a lot of a lot of those big action like Marvel movies are very popular in Korea, but then you have these really funny like American comedies, but it's sort of very satire or
That
it's
is
kind
right.
of a very cultural humor, and they're not as successful here. in
It's kind
Korea
of
because
difficult to
yeah.
understand that.
Right, and so it goes both ways too.
Yes.
You mentioned you've been almost 10 years now. You debuted with KBS as part of that class of comedians. So you talked about how now you're at the top of the game, and you're
Top
can
of
we
the
say the veteran, the sort of the big kind of senior among most of your juniors and your peers. Do you? If you go into 10 years, do you think you're going to do this for 10 more years? Or are you going to branch off like some of the seniors do and start doing other type of, whether it's variety or acting or different things? Or do you think you're going to keep maybe just staying the path of a comedian?
Like gag concert. What do you think?
Well, I think there's like 5 different paths for you to take, right? I mean, there's so many niches, right? You can continue to perform
Yes.
as a comedian. You can be an actor. You can be on like those super popular variety programs and go that route. Do you have any specific dreams or ambitions?
my ambition is, I really want to like have 3 or 4 skits in Get Concert doing that. Be the big part of Get Concert, and then I would really love to make not a program, but kind of a show for the juniors, so they could get a chance to
showcase their
Yes.
their talents, because that's
Yes.
not always easy
Not
right away,
easy.
because you can't go straight into be a feature in
Not that easy, sir.
in something like a gag concert.
Yes.
We talked about the Korean wave, and we talked about K-pop, K-drama, K-comedy, and you were mentioning how there are different styles of how you perform as a comedian here compared to Mexico or compared to Europe or the U.S. This idea of stand-up, do you feel that stand-up is something that can catch on? Because when you think about comedy in America, you automatically first think of stand-up, right?
Yep.
And this is one guy on a stage. He might have some other props or other things, but it's really him just communicating to the audience. Is that a medium that can work here? Do you think that it's something that you could one day pursue in the future?
Well, standing comedy is not well known until now. Like, I think because lots of people didn't like try to do the stand comedy because they feel like they could fail it to do it.
Right.
So I don't know if I have a chance to do the standing comedy. If I have a place to do, I would really glad to.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does
do
feel like, I mean, we have the traditional broadcasters like KBS, but there's been so much explosion in the digital medium, right? Whether it's YouTube or companies like Netflix who kind of produce their own original content, that
right.
eventually it seems like there will be sort of more of a evolution towards that way. You've spent a lot of time, I know you're very busy, and we appreciate, a big star like you coming into our small,
not at all. Just
humble,
just call
tiny
me up,
radio
please.
show.
Every day.
Our producer was saying that in Korean they call it kaingi, but you have these kind of improvisations or things that you would, for our global audience,
Of course.
that they can appreciate. Do you have anything for us?
Yes. I kind of are good in doing impersonation, such as from The Dark Knight, Joker.
Okay. Heath Ledger, Joker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For tonight's entertainment, beautiful. Why are you so serious? Let's put a big smile on that face.
Very good.
That was his pleasure.
Very good.
I love playing saxophone too.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
One more.
One more.
A baby crying.
You know what? That is the most impressive performance we've had on this program ever for Korea24, KBS World. We've never had that much sort of phenomenal sort of performance and ability shine through on the microphone. As you say, this is something that a lot of the world can appreciate. It's not just something for Korea. K-comedy, Korean wave, watch out. Sungwon Kim, thank you very much for joining us. And
Thank you
best
for
of luck
having
to
me,
you,
sir.
And hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.